This is my 6th video on my attempts to construct a small OO gauge layout. See part 1 for my reasons for doing this and my lengthy series on my N-gauge railway modelling for more interesting stuff with trains actually running, etc. This part deals with my building of a second station for the layout, which is still far from complete. The layout, that is, the station's basically complete, from Metcalfe, Settle and Carlisle station and stone platform kits, PO333 and PO235. This was actually the first station that I planned for my OO gauge layout in the back right corner, but then I subsequently modified the layout plan to include a terminal station on the centre branch where the goods shed had originally been planned to be. See part 4 of this series, and I built that centre station first using an old Airfix booking hall kit and the Metcalfe stone platform kit. See part 5. So now I turn my attention back to the corner station on the main line. I was intending to again use the Metcalfe stone platform kit for the platform, this time with a bit more complexity as a larger platform with a curve was required, and for the station buildings I had bought the Metcalfe, Settle and Carlisle station kit. The first thing to do was to establish the basic footprint for the station. Following the advice from the Metcalfe platform kit instructions, I tried a full-length carriage on the line to see how far its ends would swing out as it went round the corner. This is necessary, of course, to ensure that passenger trains can actually get round the line when the new platform is in place. As you may see, the ends of the carriage didn't in fact swing out much beyond the edge of the fixed ballast backing of the Macman Easy track I was using, so the platform only needed to be set back a little from the edge of that track base. I had laid down multiple sheets of paper taped together for my template, and I penciled onto that the edges of the lines and the existing road, as well as indicating the edges of the board itself. I decided to do the Settle and Carlisle station building kit first, as I needed to know the exact size of the buildings in order to establish the platform plan. I started by cutting out all of the glazing pieces and doors and gluing them to their respective laser-cut frames. I don't follow the Metcalfe instruction to cut out all of the parts first. They suggest cutting every part out first and arranging them in your builder's yard, as they call it. I find for me this creates hopeless confusion and likelihood for losing parts, apart from the fact that it would just take up more space than I readily have available. So for the most part I only take parts out of the sheets they come on one by one as they are needed for assembly. However, if there isn't too much glazing, I will sometimes get all that done first, as I did in this case. Here you can see the first 2 windows fitted to the building wall. They're given a very 3D effect by the use of 4 layers, the acetate glazing piece, a laser-cut frame, in this case red, a printed cardboard frame, and then the wall itself. Here the walls for the main building are taking shape. This building has a rectangular central part with 3 gable extensions, 1 on one side and 2 on the other, and a porch between the 2 gables on that side. Here, one end wall has been glazed and attached to the heavy card base, and the first gable extension has been made up with its large window glazed. That gable is now attached to the heavy card base, butted up against the end wall section. Then the other end wall section is made up and attached to the other end, butted up against the gable extension. Now the heavy card frame of the building is completed by gluing in the back wall, the floor, and 2 interior wall reinforcers. Here's the same stage of construction seen from the other side. Now the 2 gable extensions for the other side are made up with their own heavy card walls and floors, and their own window glazing. And those 2 gable pieces are glued in place up against the extensions of the end walls as they come round the corners. The space between the 2 gable extensions constitutes a kind of porch. It has its own floor and front and back walls with doors and windows. There are also heavy card pieces on the sides sloped to support the porch roof. Now the main roof, which includes the porch roof, is glued on. Actually, a heavy card roof support is glued on first, and then the printed roof is glued over that. This results in the whole building being extremely solid in construction, as all the parts are backed with heavy card, which really doesn't bend at all. At this point I tried the building on the station template to see how it might fit. It appeared that this main building would fit okay if placed by the curved section of the platform. However, the design of the Metcalfe kit called for an additional side building to be attached to the main building at the far end as seen in this picture. It seemed to me that if I attached the side building as intended, the resulting building would be too long to fit sensibly into my station plan. I felt that the main building would have to be completed as it was without the side building extension. Hopefully the side building could be completed and used separately. I ran a passenger train past the template with the building to see how things might come together. I felt that it should be possible to build a platform to make this station work okay, so long as the side building was treated separately. The length of the station should allow for a 3-coach train to fit, rather small by real-world standards, but really the longest that was possible on such a small layout, unless the layout were to be dedicated entirely to a station. Having come to these conclusions, I went back to work on building the kit. Here the heavy card supports for the gable roofs are glued in place. Then the printed roofs go on, quite tricky to get them to join the main roof well. As I noted, the kit is designed so that everything makes one single building, with the side building attached as an extension to the main building. I didn't want to do that, but rather to have the side building separate. This presented no problem in respect to the main building, since the wall of the main building where the side building was supposed to attach was in fact fully printed, so the main building would appear complete even without the side building. But the kit didn't provide any printed end wall for the side building itself, since the end was supposed to attach to the main building. So I needed to make a printed piece to serve as the end wall of the side building. Unfortunately, no spare stonework was supplied with the Settle and Carlisle kit. The closest I could find was some spare printed card from another Metcalfe kit, which was actually intended to represent cobblestones. But I thought I could get away with using it for the end wall of the side building. I cut out a piece using the heavy card end sections of the side building as a template. Here you can see my improvised end wall in place. It doesn't match the other stonework, of course, but the effect isn't too bad, and given the way I'll be placing the side building on the platform, this wall won't be very visible most of the time. And here's the side building essentially complete except for roof decorations. I think it'll work okay. This is approximately how I intend to place the buildings on the station. I tried with the template on the layout. I would like to leave a little bit more space between the main building and the side building so that I can have an access stairway there, providing a way of getting onto the station. Now I was ready to firm up the shape of the platform. The line side would of course follow the shape of the line itself. For the back I decided to just go with straight lines between the ends of the main building and the ramps at each end of the platform. Apart from anything else, I wanted to avoid curves on the back of the platform, as it seemed to me that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to make the Metcalfe platform walls into curves, since those are very thick, made up of 4 layers of card. I did the layout work for the platform on my kitchen floor, as there wasn't enough space for it in my work area. I tried the buildings once more on the template before committing to cutting things out and making the platform. Now I've actually cut out the paper template for the platform. The intended positions of the buildings are penciled in. Now the paper template is taped to the back of Metcalfe asphalt sheets to make up the surface of the platform. I borrowed some additional pieces of asphalt sheeting that I had left over from other Metcalfe kits. Here are the asphalt sheets assembled with the platform template taped to the back, flipped over just to check the top side. There may be some slight difference in shade between the different asphalt sheets, but I don't think it should be a significant problem. So I cut around the edges of the template to make the platform top from the asphalt sheets. And here it is, top side up in my rather cluttered work area. The next step is to glue thin strips of heavy card spacer along all of the rail side edges of the platform top. The rail side stonework of the platform will fit up against these spacers. The rail side stonework of the platform is made up of 2 layers, printed stonework backed with heavy card. This is glued to the platform surface, fitted up against the thin heavy card edging spacers, and reinforced and held vertical by folded heavy card supports. We now essentially have a shaped platform with railside stonework and ramps at each end. I tried this on the layout. Best to try the fit of things at every stage so that any problems can be caught as early as possible. In this case, the fit seemed okay along the line, so I think we're okay at this stage. I did try running a passenger train past it just to make sure. The next stage was going to be to create the backside stonework for the platform and the platform walls. This promised to be the trickiest part. I separated out the various pieces that I would need, both printed card and heavy card backing. This process also uses capping stone strips to join over the edge of the platform between the lower stonework and the upper walls. I didn't do this as the instructions suggest. The instructions say to glue the lower stonework to the edge of the platform surface as closely as possible, then to trim the edges of the platform surface neatly to the stonework using a sharp knife, then to glue on the capping stone strips to support the upper walls. I did it the other way round. I glued the capping stone strips to the top of the lower stonework, protruding in an appropriate amount. Then I glued these pieces to the platform surface, gluing the platform surface itself into the corner formed by the lower stonework and the capping stone strip. This seemed to make more sense to me, not that it wasn't a bit fiddly. Here you can see my platform with the capping stone strips protruding all the way along the back after I've fitted the back stonework as described. Here's the view of the platform at this stage from the back. I've cut out a piece of the capping stone strip where I intend to have an access staircase between the buildings. Next, I've fitted the back walls, which are made up of 2 strips of heavy card faced on each side with a strip of printed stonework. I left gaps for the buildings and for the access stairway. In this picture, the walls have already had stone capping strips glued to their tops to finish them off. I made steps for the stairway by cutting pieces of styrene strip and gluing them together. I figured about 3 mm should make reasonable 00 gauge steps. I painted these steps grey since the styrene stripping itself was white. Then I made sides for the stairway from the Metcalfe kit wall pieces and capping stone strips. I think this will be passable. Here is the station on the layout. The buildings are not actually finished yet, lacking chimneys, barge boards, and roof decorations. I had left those details aside as I wanted to complete the main form of the station first. The station will be mainly seen from the front of the layout, like this, so the added wall of the side building is hardly seen. The access steps won't really be seen much either. The line side of the platform also doesn't have its edging at this point. I just wanted to keep checking things at every stage. The ramp at this end of the platform is a bit oddly shaped, but I think I can live with it. The overall station is just over 3 feet long. At this point I went back to completing the buildings. Barge boards make the ends of the roofs look prettier, and the tops of the roofs get capping strips and decorative pieces. I found these rather hard to fit entirely satisfactorily, since they need to fit up against each other and the various roof pieces very precisely, and some of them didn't seem to be exactly the right length to do so. The chimneys were also fitted at this point. This is always a bit of a bugbear with Metcalfe kits, as rolling the chimney pots from the paper strips provided is a very fiddly and annoying task. Not that I can think of a better way of doing round chimney pots with a card kit other than providing cast parts. And here's the station back on the layout. I've stuck the self-adhesive edging along the track side of the platform now. It wasn't easy to get that to go round the curves, and that stuff always seems to keep coming unstuck, no matter how well you burnish it down. Here are the buildings a bit closer in their finished state. You can actually see that the end of the side building is the wrong colour from this angle. The access stairway actually sticks out awkwardly into the road. There just wasn't enough space available to do things better. I'll almost certainly need to redo this corner of the layout at some point, the ground part of it, but the problems aren't very obvious, so I can leave things for now. As it will be normally seen from the front, this station doesn't look too bad for now. In fact, I'm fairly happy with it as far as it goes. Here it is with a 3-coach train drawn up to it. This is how it will normally be seen, and I think this looks okay. Actually, the platform is really too low relative to the coaches. This is because the Bachmann Easy track is raised up by its fitted bed, and the Metcalfe kit was designed to work with track laid more directly down to the ground level. The solution is going to have to be to raise that whole corner section of the layout by inserting a new surface piece. But I'm going to leave that for the future as a lower priority project, as there is so much on this layout that is just not finished at all at this point. You can really see how the platform just isn't right for the coaches if you look at it like this, but you wouldn't normally notice it. And for now, I think this station will be perfectly functional. I will move on to other things. Next up will be the church, which will be a major kit build and which I need in order to see how the whole village area of the layout can come together.